welcome to another exciting and fun episode of Getting Glammed Up over here with Micah Gilbert.
Hello.
Hi, Micah. So Micah is, I would say, celebrity makeup artist. He's worked on many television shows. He just wrapped Allegiance on CBC, where he was one of the key makeup artists. He's worked with some of Hollywood A-list celebrities such as Vivica A. Fox, Lucy Hale, Toni Braxton, the list just goes on, as well as a lot of Canadian shows like CTV Morning Live. I did not know about that. I just found out about that right now, going through your IMDb. And he is the founder of Something Something Makeup line that I'm wearing this beautiful bright poppy red. Honestly, this is my favorite color. Whenever I need to feel a little hint of confidence, or if I'm feeling a little bit down and I want that extra spark on a gray day, this is my go-to. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
We hang out all the time. We're friends in real life. So to sit here and call you Micah Gilbert, it just sounds a little bit like very, okay, this is very proper. We're sitting down. This is happening.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Obviously, I've been a fan of yours for a long time, as my friend as well, but you're very talented, and I'm just happy to be part of your show.
I'm so excited to have you here. I wanted to share your story a little bit for a while now. We tried to get Mike on last year, but we were waiting for the collection to come out, and then you jumped on this beautiful CBC show that had its premiere a couple of months ago, and the show is doing so well. You've had a lot of success in such a short amount of time, but with like all my guests, I do like to hit rewind and start from the beginning. So perhaps someone watching out there can get inspired by your story. Did you always know that you were going to play with makeup? Prettify people, glamify people?
So for me, my story, I actually have always kind of worked in entertainment. So since I was a kid, I always thought I wanted to be more of an actor. And then I started doing it, and it wasn't really sticking with me. Like, I still do some things here and there, but I would always find myself, like, I'd be working on sci-fi movies, and I would find myself, like, harassing the makeup artists, asking them questions like, over and over and over again. And every show I'd find them, I'd ask them the same questions. They're like, just go to school, go to the school and talk to them. So it took me a few years, and then I finally went to local school here, McDonald, and after the first time I did someone's makeup, I was transformed slightly. I remember this one girl, she had really bad acne, and she started crying after it. I'm like, oh, what did I do to you? And she just looked, she felt so happy because her acne was covered and she had never had it properly covered before. And I was like, oh my goodness, that feeling, I'm puffed. That feeling of giving someone that transformational confidence, where it's like they're still themselves, but it's just that little bit that makes them feel like they can go into the world and feel like they have their best face forward.
That's really beautiful. And you started out as a child model and actor?
Well, so my first job I ever had was for people who are I'm gonna age myself. There's a show called, I think, The A-Team, and there was Mr. T.
I love it. I never knew that, Micah.
So there was a baby calendar that I was in, the very first one, and I had a mohawk, and I was Mr. T as baby in baby calendar.
Man, you never told me that.
Yeah, it's not.
That is a great story. Okay, I grew up in Pakistan. I grew up watching A-Team.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I totally did. A-Team, and then, I was hooked on A-Team. And all those shows that now I find out that were actually filmed in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah.
I'm totally blanking right now, but there were so many of those 80s, 90s shows that were filmed here, and you're like, what? I grew up watching this show, and I had no idea it was filmed in Vancouver.
I know, it's so
the Hollywood
funny.
North. So, and obviously you look beautiful, you look handsome, and that makes sense that, you would, and I know you're still acting, you're still booking some jobs, but you love being behind the camera.
I do, I prefer, yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about the journey, and you worked in Vancouver, you worked in LA, you worked in Toronto, so how, obviously, you probably envisioned or dreamt of having the career that you have now, but what was it like for you when you first started, and what were your hopes and dreams back then?
So when I first started in makeup, I really thought I was going to be like a special effects artist. So I didn't know
Like
what
blood and
gore and like aliens and like all that kind of stuff. I really thought, like, like I said, I did sci-fi, so I thought that would be like, it was the coolest thing. So my career, I was like, went into school, and then they start you off. Obviously, they don't jump right into that. You start with like the fundamentals. And I remember the first time I did a lip liner on someone, I was like, what? It felt like foreign, because the feeling of like, you've never done makeup before, which I'd never touched makeup before going to school. The feeling of someone else's face, trying to draw a pencil on it, it's the weirdest feeling. But after, like I said, the transformation, it was like, okay, the beauty of this, I love. So I wanted to be, from there, once I started school, I wanted to be like a fashion artist. I wanted to just go into like, I wanted to be in New York, I wanted to do all of that. So, I mean, as a makeup artist, you do everything. So I have had bits and pieces of all different aspects of the industry. But it's funny, the concept of like having a makeup line within that, it came to me years and years ago. Probably I would say like maybe 5 years into my career, because I've been doing it for about 14, 15 years now. And I had this concept in my mind, but I never really knew how to go forward with it. And it wasn't really, I didn't have like the spark or like the backstory of like why I wanted to do it yet. So I was playing with the idea, but sometimes like it just takes like the catalyst in your life to make you to go forward with something.
Completely, and we'll dig into that story a little bit later. But I do want to talk more about your career, because I think that there's a lot of individuals out there who could be watching who whether want to transition to being an artist or a makeup artist, or just even as an entrepreneur, because today currently we're filming here in Railtown at Christine's boutique atelier, and I find that there seems to be this thorough line that connects entrepreneurs, whether someone is a handbag designer, a makeup artist, an actor, or clothing lingerie designer, because it takes a lot of inner focus, resilience, determination, or a camera operator like Julian over there. Julian's been doing it for over a decade. Because when you're self-employed and you have to manage your time, do the promotional work, yet at the same time being creative, it's a different mindset, because you're your own boss. So I would love to hear your insight. Because promoting yourself as a makeup artist, because you haven't just worked in Vancouver, you've worked in other cities as well, and you've been flown and requested to work with celebrities. So let's talk a bit about that.
Sure. I think that's everything you said is very beautifully put. Like, it's when you are trying to be a creative, it's one side of your brain, right? And then if you're trying to also be the business side of it, it's another side of your brain. But not only that, it's like, as artists, I find a lot of the time, and as entrepreneurs, you kind of have this like imposter syndrome sometimes. So to make yourself, to be that person that's actually promoting yourself the most, it's like you have to be your own biggest fan. You have to truly, really believe in yourself and really believe in the vision you have. So it's about finding what it is that you are passionate about, what you want, having that vision in your mind, and really just putting the steps in. And for me, it's like I'm very spiritual, so I just ask God, like, what is it that you have me to do today? What is it that you have to do today? And God is like, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, right? It's like something that's just driving me forward. And I find that when I do that, it like gives me the answers, because on my own, I can lose focus that way, right?
It's the connection to something bigger than you.
Exactly.
And speaking earlier to Christine, I asked her the same question, and she was like, yeah, that inner work, it's just so important, because especially when we're having a lot of creative output, and then it's not just about creativity, it's also about business, because you can't have the artist and the art without the financial part of it, because artists do have to work on the business side. And I know that's something that over the years was something that I struggled with, but I've gotten better and better and better at. And something I was gonna add, like, I still sometimes get imposter syndrome. The inner critic that can be really, really loud. And in safe places, spaces, energies, you share that. Like I share that with you. Something that I could be struggling with or doubting, or the inner doubt when it creeps in. It's like, who are you? Should I really post that on my social media? Should I really share that? I was thinking of sharing a little story on my social media a little while ago, because I remember there were times I was living in Paris, and the relationship that I was in, the partner that I was with, they sort of poo-pooed me sharing some of my success,
Yeah.
that you don't want to come across as too much. And I think that's part of like this French sort of culture as well.
Right.
Like you keep everything a little bit. And I look back and I kind of, you know, it made me a little bit upset at myself because I was like, was having so many amazing life experiences and work wins that I didn't share.
Right.
So sometimes, even if I don't feel good internally, like people ask me, like, do you never get nervous when you get up on stage? Like, I want to ask you, like, what was it like, you know, working with Tony Braxton? Like,
Yeah.
I know inside of me, I'd be like, oh my God, I break my heart, and like all the songs, like all the music videos. So I want to add, because that's a lot of pressure
For sure.
to make this big star
Yeah.
look good. Like, you know, does your inner critic come up, and how do you deal with that? I love asking creatives that question because I feel that's something that I struggled with certainly more in my early 20s, maybe early 30s, but now in my 40s it's a different story because I'm like, just keep going because you know it's inside of you, but it still comes up and it makes us human.
For sure. I mean, the situation with Tony Braxton, she's so lovely, but when I first got asked, they requested me. I was working on a different movie. It was for a movie that she was doing out in Toronto, and I was working on something else, and they're like,
and people had just heard your name.
Yeah, so they was requesting me for out there, and they were looking for an artist who had worked with Black celebrities, and so they messaged me. And it was funny because she was very specific. She wanted a female makeup artist. So I had to go through. I didn't know who it was. There's like they want a black female makeup artist or for a black.
And they didn't tell you who it is.
No.
Okay.
They didn't tell me. So I had to send all these photos in, and they're like, okay, well she's not sure yet because she wants a female, but she hasn't decided. But we're gonna fly you out anyways, just in case.
Yeah, just to test you, to see if
Just
you're
to see,
fit.
Just to see if I'm fit. And the thing is, it was when you're working with a level of a celebrity like that, it wasn't actually like she had her makeup artist, but she wasn't gonna be able to come for another week. So it was only for the first week that I was supposed to be there. So I got there, and
I mean, she's Tony Braxton.
She's Tony Braxton, you know, and she's like, I go into her. It's the first day of filming. I go into her dressing room, and the hairstylist is doing her hair. And then she looks at me and she's like, so you're the guy, are you? I'm like, so in my mind, I'm like a little bit freaked out.
You're like, breathe.
And she's like, you have 15 minutes. And I was like, 15 minutes? It's completely unrealistic, obviously. Yeah. But you do it, you say yes, and you just kind of go with it. And like, obviously, in those moments, you don't really have a lot of time to think. You kind of just go. So for me, it's like, but it's all about mental preparation. So for the week, once I found out who it was and they decided to bring me out, I was freaking out the entire time, so I just researched anything I possibly could. I've obviously known her like for my whole life. I've always been a fan of hers. But it's just preparation so that when I got there on the moment, I wouldn't have to feel anything. I would just try to go on autopilot as much as possible. So I found that she did a Vogue interview where she did her own makeup. So I'm like, okay, well, the best thing I can do is I know that I can just appeal to things I know she likes. So I just started like saying things that I knew she said in the video, and as I was saying those things,
you did your research.
I did my research. She was like, "Oh," because I could feel she didn't want to like me almost. But then by the end of it, like she fell in love with me, and she gave me a lot of good like advice, and including one thing that always sticks with me too. So her actual personal makeup artist that she works with all the time is Naomi Island. She's a phenomenal makeup artist. She also is Nicki Minaj's makeup artist. And
I'm sorry, what's the name?
Mila Thomas.
Okay.
And she's phenomenal. And so the two of them were speaking when we came back to another movie, and she wanted me to be the head of department. Tony Braxton did, and then Mila said, she's like, you need to.
She loved you.
Yeah, because
you had conquered the test.
I conquered her, yes.
You know, it's a test because I completely get it. Like, can you work under pressure?
Oh yeah, there was hair, like they were cutting the hair over my station. There's hair everywhere. It was like 15 minutes. You know, but you have to stay calm. You have to even when you don't believe in yourself, you have to be your own biggest cheerleader and just step outside of yourself and be like, you got this.
Yeah.
And it's so important because at the end of the day, it's like we all make mistakes. We're all human. But when you're your own boss and you're your own brand, you have to, even when you get down, you have to come back in and be resilient, because what who knows, what if I like, poked her eye out or something and it failed?
Yeah.
I can't all of a sudden give up my entire career, you know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
like you always have to be there for yourself.
Yeah, and I think moments like that really require you to be really present so much and remove the ego as much as possible
100%.
and be teachable, get in the service mindset and be like, okay, like everything slows down. Because for you as a makeup artist, like that's it. And when you're working on people's faces, like this morning, Micah did my face while I was talking. I was like, you know, prepping someone else for an interview. I'm doing social media. I'm doing all of this. And I wanted to say, I didn't get a chance to say it to you earlier, I can see why people request for you because your energy is very calm. It's almost like water, like you are just with the flow. And almost like you're not there, but you're there. Does that make sense?
100%.
And I think for performers and artists, we want to work with people who are not like taking away from you.
Yeah.
And you can be in your world. So that's when I understood. I was like, yes, because you can be a gifted artist, a makeup artist, or a hairstylist or whatnot. However, the energy you're bringing to set, the energy you're bringing to the performer.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that with makeup, what I realized early on in my career, and I think that it could be that, is like, for me, it's like when I'm going there, I'm like, okay, what's gonna make this person feel good? Because makeup it's all, first of all, subjective. It's what you might find beautiful can be completely different than I do, but it's most important that you feel beautiful, because you're the face, you know what I mean? So for me, it's like, if you have a lot of things going on, I'll do what I can do, but there's gonna be time for me to fix it afterwards if I have to. So I'm just gonna do it, get it on, and if you have, sometimes, like, I've had performers, like, where I have an idea what will look best on them, and they can have some really outlandish things that I'm like, really? That's what you want? But I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna support them and be there for them, because all that matters is how they feel. That's the only thing that matters. And then if I need to sneak in certain things for the lighting that they don't really realize need to be fixed, I'll just, as I'm talking to them later on, they won't know I change it, but I'm like, okay, yeah. Because, you know, it's all about the energy, and it's like, and it's only makeup. It's like, it's not gonna be the end of the world. With anything that's to do with service, I feel like you have to remember that you're in the service industry. And yes, I'm an artist, but my most important aspect is the human experience. That's what I love about it. That's the thing that brings me back to it all the time, is connecting to the other person and being a part of their journey and their, when I see somebody shining on camera and they feel confident, I'm like, I was part of that experience. I warmed them up for the morning. It's really important. Because you can do beautiful art, but if you've made that performer feel like garbage, it's gonna show. It's gonna show, and they're gonna have like the resentment and that energy behind whatever they do afterwards, even if it's the most beautiful makeup in the world. So
that's so well said, Micah. You're there to support their journey. You're there to inspire them.
100%.
And you know, I think that's what really, you know, in our film industry, film television industry, we work long hours. We want to work with people who bring back great energy, you know, and I've mentioned that about Julian often, and it's like, you know, having a great team, like how, because it's not just about the person who's in front of the camera, it's like the team that you have and the experience that people have. And I'm sure it's the same with actors that you're working with, you know, just like currently the show that you wrapped, Allegiance, and I was so excited to attend the premiere with you. And so you know, it's a wonderful CBC show, and you were the key makeup artist on it. And
I was actually a first assistant.
Sorry, first assistant. Yes. Those words just come out. We're manifesting that. We're manifesting that. You know, I do find that, you know, it's like this was the first time even though we've known each other for a long time and been friends, that you did my makeup. First of all, I love the way you did it. It looks, you know, I requested the red lip because I'm like, let's do something spicy. We're gonna do the red, but my foundation and everything, and I think it also, I felt very like supported when you were doing it. Of course, we're friends, like that energy does come through as well. Yet, you know, I can see why you get requested. What advice would you give to someone starting out as a makeup artist?
Starting out as a makeup artist, especially in Vancouver, but anywhere, you have to just keep going. There's a lot of people, when you first start doing makeup, there's not a lot of work that you're gonna get, so you have to create your own work, or you have to volunteer like crazy. You just have to really love the art form. And every situation that you go into is an opportunity. It's like an interview. So when you're going in, it's like, I found that a lot of people that were going into the career field, they went to school, but they wouldn't do any of the outside work. And school is only like 10% of what, it's basically just like giving you your feet in the door so you know how to like, that you feel confident to go and do the actual learning. I feel like learning actually comes from being on location. Getting a job at like somewhere like Sephora's probably good, so you're gonna practice in a lot of faces, you're gonna get the confidence up. But you have to be willing to do anything. Always say yes. Even if you don't think you can do it, say yes. I remember the first time, like I used to do hair, I do hair now as well. But for the first few years, we only have hair and makeup people. I'm like, oh, I do hair. I'm like, I don't know how to do hair at all. And I would get a curling iron and I would just like put it through the girl's hair and I would just let it go and nothing would happen because I didn't know we had to leave it and hold it. I don't have hair, so and then I would just spray some like really expensive hair products and just like fluff it up and it would look great. And then over time, certain models would be like, how about you just hold it for a little? I'm like, that's how you do it. So over time, I would learn, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't gonna let it not give me the job by saying no. And now we have YouTube, so I've been a head of department on movies for hair, and I've never gone to school. But I'm like, I'll just YouTube everything, ask all my friends. You have to be, the resources are out there. You just have to be hungry and you have to go for it. So when you're starting, just always say yes. If someone's asking you, that means they believe that you can do it. Find a way to do it because it can all be changed. You're not doing surgery. You're doing hair and makeup. You know, when you're working with people, ask their opinion, like confidently. Be like, oh, I was thinking this. What do you think?
Yeah.
Because it can be changed. Don't, if someone doesn't like something you've done, don't get in your head and think that you're a bad artist. It's subjective. So just ask them how you can change it.
Which is what you did with me today before we even got started. I was like, whatever you think. You're like, no. What would you like? And then even afterward, and I was like, okay, yes, this. You know, change it up like this. It's interesting. A cup for the Allegiance premiere. I won't say who. Like, I did like how my makeup turned out in the end, but I felt like I was wearing a few layers of it. And me in my day-to-day, as you know, I'm very like kind of natural, easy breezy, a little bit of bronzer, mascara, we're good to go, and gloss. And versus me, I like the way that you did it today, but I could tell the makeup artist took it sort of personally, and they were trying to network more in Vancouver and do things here and do photo shoots and such. And I do think they made it a little bit about themselves.
Right.
Versus it's like, babe, I'm the one who's going on the red carpet, like, and getting photographed.
Right.
Like, you know,
She wanted
sort of.
So she was trying to make your face so that she could have photos of makeup she wanted to present.
Wow.
But the thing is too, is like, that's great, but you need to have, there always needs to be, I understand where she'd be coming from, but you need to have that mutual dance together.
Yes.
Because you're the person that's wearing it, so you're gonna feel when posting it.
Exactly.
And that's where the promotion comes in, right?
Yes.
I get, you do wanna make sure that you're having, if you're doing
Your
something
work being
presented in the
yes.
way that you want to, but you still need to be versatile and work with the person.
Yeah, and you have to make the person feel confident and beautiful, which I feel is something. So one of the things that I'm really hearing when you're sharing about your journey, because I remember you from back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like whether in front or behind the camera, I found that there was a time you were like everywhere. Like, you know, you were on these different modeling campaigns.
Yeah.
You know, and then looking good. And then you were also doing a lot of photo shoots, like everywhere. I was like, wow, he's just like putting it out there. And I remember when I started out as a model, that's what I did. I think the most amount of photo shoots I did in a day were 3. And people were just like, I was 20 something, and people were like, oh my God, you're crazy. But because I wanted to build my book, I wanted to get out there, I wanted people to know my name. And
it's like interviews, you're meeting these different people, and like it pays off in the end.
100%.
Like I remember, it's like there's jobs I still get to this day from people I haven't worked with. Like I did I remember I used to do like one free photo shoot a day where I do free makeup and hair, one that was like paid, and then one that would be like just like a kit fee.
Yeah.
And I'd be running all over town. That sometimes my money wouldn't even cover. I had to take cabs everywhere. But it was but the big jobs that I've gotten later on all rooted from all those little things that I was doing because people would either remember seeing me. Like I remember there was a thing on Narcity. I don't know if you know Narcity.
Yes, yeah.
So Narcity, and I moved to Toronto, like 33 badass guys, sorry, 33 guys with like Good job, we'll call them. And I wasn't even living here in Vancouver, I said, and it like talked about me and all these different things, and it's because I had worked with all these different people who were, but at the time I was like, I just know that work for free because I was at the beginning of my career almost, right? But because of those, then all of a sudden, like I remember there was one that promoted me as, it was like the top 10 artists in the city, and because of that, the show Hollywood Medium, they requested me because they were looking for a local celebrity makeup artist, and that article said celebrity makeup artist, and they didn't know anybody, so they're like, who's a celebrity makeup artist in Vancouver? So because of that, and it was just because of all the things I was doing to get my name out there, right?
But you put the work in.
Of course.
You know, you did the footwork, and we can't, you know, just be coming out of school or new into a city or whatever. I remember when I moved to Paris, I knew that, you know, on the outside it looked like, okay, Zara was doing all this and that, and I was covering Fashion Week for an Emmy nominated show. Sadly, they didn't have a budget, and they were like, you know, all the correspondents worked for them for free. Yet that led to me getting other gigs, because you're like, yes, you're here doing all these backstage, and you have, you know, you're attending all these shows, and afterwards it's just the way that it is in our industry,
and
you know?
and that's why you have to love it, because if you don't love it, you're gonna burn out.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna be moments where you're questioning what you're doing, right? Because it's hard. You have to believe in your abilities, and you do have to be smart with the things, like you said, that was an Emmy nominated show. Yes, it's like you want to get paid for something like that. You're like, you must have a budget, but you can't. You have to step out of your ego. It's like, what is this? It's not giving me money, which can be a temporary, okay, get paid and then walk away from it. It could be something that like leads you to, maybe there's gonna be people on that show that are amazing, and they're gonna be like, hey, I worked with this girl Zara. Or, you know what I mean? And that's often what happens.
And from that I covered Paris Fashion Week for them, and then they were like, hey, do you want to go to Morocco? You know, and that was like a week-long trip. I was there, you know, again, it was, you know, they food, flights, everything. Like I didn't have to, I was walking barefoot in Western Sahara Desert for this one report, and then from that, people were watching, right? Like, because you have social media, like I worked in LA, New York, different cities before, and then, you know, a producer from LA was like, hey, like we're actually interested, could you put like a pitch together, and this is kind of our budget. And I was like, I knew, but that's the thing, right? You have to love the art. You have to. You know, and it's almost like sometimes you almost have to have blind faith.
Yeah,
because
you do.
Yeah, you have to put, because I'm not gonna lie, I've had days where I'm like I came home yesterday after, like, you know, thank goodness for my dog walkers. I have a dog and a cat, and I'm coming home after like being out for 15 hours, and I was like, oh my goodness, you know, I've been out all day, and I knew I'm prepping, but it's like you just have to have the eyes on the prize, and I'm like, yes, tomorrow's another day. I'm gonna have a great day on set, filming these amazing interviews with people that I love. You know, especially when you're working long hours, several days in a row, it can affect your mental health. You know, it can affect your emotions, and if you're not eating well and doing, you know, like following like a healthy regimen, it can really affect. And then, you know, I'm very grateful. A hair person there, I'm like, hey Ken, can I please come in at 9 p.m. By the time I'm finally done the day, it's like 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And I woke up at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
but you know, and I'm just like, yeah, tomorrow it's my show. I get to do this, and I get to sit down with people that I love and share their stories, you know, and have these conversations. So before we jump into something, I want to talk about a few other shows you've worked on. Tell me about the show with Lucy Hale.
Oh, so Lucy Hale. So that was, I actually met her on another show called Hollywood Medium.
Okay.
So which I loved. So this guy named Tyler Henry. He lives in LA. He was young at the time when I first met him, and he brings on celebrities to a show, and then he connects with their passed on loved ones. So she was a guest on the show. That's where I met her. But and I'm very spiritual, and I love all that stuff. So it was really fun working on that show. She's a lovely, lovely person. Beautiful. I mean, she barely needs anything.
Yeah.
Big, beautiful eyes.
Yeah,
great skin.
Stunning. I saw her on a podcast episode recently. You also were on CTV Morning Live. You've done a lot of Hallmark shows. and Iron Chef Canada.
Oh yeah, yes, I worked on.
Yes, I was like, Micah.
So I worked on a lot of those cooking shows, which are really fun. I won't give away too much of the details, but those shows are intense. Iron Chef is really intense. The Iron Chefs mean business; they want to win. My favorite one of the cooking shows though was actually like Junior Chef, because the kids are so cute and they're so like happy to be there. And it's a competition, but you can't, like, they were like my little kids, like my babies. Like, I was very protective of them, the producers. The producers were like, oh, whoever has the worst one is going home. Like, do not tell any of them they have the worst one, they're children. Like, come with me.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they'd come in and I would like let them play with my makeup and hair stuff. That was fun, yeah.
And you did makeup for CTV Morning Live for several years?
Yeah, so I actually really love working in the news. I sometimes work for CBC News as well now, but CTV Morning Live was fun. Carrie Adams, she's awesome. I was just speaking because I think she had an anniversary, and
I saw that.
there was a day when that was at the beginning of my career too, and she had like a see-through box in her head, and they just dumped a bunch of tarantulas. I'm like, you're so.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I'm like, you're so brave. But news is funny because you get very little limited time to do, because they're so busy. But like there'd be 4 of them, and they would all come in maybe 25 minutes before their airtime. So I used to make a joke after a couple years of working there, I'm like, okay, who wants to be ugly today? Because we have half an hour to do 4 people.
No.
Yeah, but you get used to. I mean, you get used to them, and you.
Do they come with foundation on or something?
No, but it's like basically like a 10-minute face, 5-minute face each. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but you just
So that's why you're used to working under pressure.
Yeah, you have to be as a makeover, you have to be very adaptable, very quickly, and it's terrifying at first, but you get used to
Do you love that? Do you get high from that pressure? I know I work well under pressure. Like when my episodes are due, like not only am I working as on-camera talent, but also producer, like, you know, delivering and doing all the work. It's like, or even like a pitch, the deadline is midnight.
Yeah.
And no joke, no joke. This has happened 3 times in a row now. We've gotten something in 15 minutes before, half an hour before my show last year. You know, grateful for TELUS STORYHIVE. My show, I think we got it in an hour before the deadline.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I've been minutes.
Sorry, that's the pitch.
Oh.
The last pitch I put in, I got it in 15 minutes before deadline. But there's
you had a week, but you started. You had a week to do it, but you just do it like 3 hours before. Like, I have to do it now. I know.
And somehow the mind. There's something about, maybe it's the artist in us, you know, the mind under pressure. I just work, like all of a sudden everything is heightened and everything becomes really clear.
Wouldn't you also say too, like as freelance or as an artist or as like someone who's creating, because we do a million different things at once. So people don't understand, I think, a lot of the time when you're in this industry and all the different capacities of it, your brain doesn't really stop working. So even though like you might do it at the very last minute, I can guarantee for that week that you're aware of it, you're piecing together all day long, 24 hours a day, grabbing little bits of information. So maybe the package doesn't come together until like 15 minutes before it needs to be done, but you've been working on it subconsciously and consciously for an entire week.
Very well said. And as you know, I've told you about the pitches, which we're not going to talk about now. But, you know, and something that was affecting me personally that I had shared with you, it was in regards to representation, and not many people know I'm from Pakistan. And, you know, I just got asked to MC an event for a Pakistani film that was nominated for an Oscar, and to interview, thank you, and they asked you to do my makeup, to interview the director on the stage after the screening. And I was like, wow, that's such an honor. I'm actually from Pakistan. And, you know, the PR people, they were sort of surprised. And that led me to think, and that led me to think, because most recently there was a play done here in Vancouver. I'm not going to say the name. It was advertised as Pakistani Muslim family. And, you know, and none of the individuals who were in the play were from Pakistan. So, and that really affected me personally, and I wasn't sure, you know, and I felt like I bit my tongue over that, but I think the hurt and pain from that allowed me to make a pitch for a show, you know, and I think in living, you know, I was born in Pakistan, moved here at 17, and in 2000, so you can do the math, this year it's 24 years since living in Canada. So for a long time, due to world events, like I hid my heritage. You know, people would think that, okay, you're part Spanish, part this, and I would just take it, I was ethnically ambiguous.
Right.
And even now, like I've lost a few jobs where people would think that, okay, she's not quite Indian enough, because in their brain, you know, South Asian looks a very particular way. So I wanted to create, we'll see, and I'm praying that that pitch does get funded. Otherwise, I will consciously make content and talk about being a Pakistani Canadian living here. But I do think that as artists, and especially as artists of color,
Yes.
you know, we get to share these stories, and these are the conversations that you and I have had. And I'm certainly very aware of, and especially when it comes to storytelling and having guests on my show, it's something that I'm truly passionate about.
What I love about that situation for you, and this is like what I try to take with every aspect of my life, is that we have an opportunity with every situation that affects us. Because for example, the representation thing. For me, I never even knew representation mattered until I started seeing I never felt jaded about it until I started seeing it and like, oh my god, I felt so good, like someone like me is doing this. Like, what? But what I love about what you did with that is that you took something that was bothering you, and instead of just sitting on it and dwelling and being angry and pointing fingers, you're like, you know what? I'm talented. I know how to do these types of things. I'm now inspired. You get a, I call it like a light code from the universe, and you download it, it comes into you, and all of a sudden you come up with this beautiful pitch that we'll see whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
But it becomes something more, and it's something that is yours, you know, and that can grow into something so beautiful.
Completely.
And that's what the beauty of finding those moments where it's like these years of you having to be adaptable from your, you know what I mean, from being that artist that wants to create something, where all of a sudden in a snap of a finger you're like, okay, now I have this, I'm gonna get this done, I know how to do it myself. And by doing that, you're not just inspiring, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for other people who might not have that type of vision yet, showing that you can do it. It's like being a producer, being all these different things, and like all of a sudden coming in together, it's like, this is what I want, this is what I want to create. In this day and age, we don't need to wait for anybody else anymore. And that's a privilege. It's a privilege to me, and this is controversial for some people. I find the things that make me different a privilege. They make me have a different perspective on how the world works. They give me a different perspective on how opportunities can come. I just have a different viewpoint. I'm not a part of anything specific a lot of the time, but I'm not chained to anything because of that. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of people like me in the city, but that means that I'm not chained to what the expectation of that would be. So I get to be free. And it gives me the freedom to be connected, because I'm a part of everybody and not part of anybody at the same time. So then I can always find a way to relate to somebody. And I find that really comes into my work and my vision for the future of what I want the world that I live in to be like. Because the world that we live in, we can all live in the same world, but the dimension I live in is freedom, it's peace, it's beauty, it's light, it's love. And you'll find that when you live in that type of mentality, the people who don't vibrate at that same level, you don't see them anymore.
And you slowly
they just shut away, they disappear.
No, completely. It's interesting. I was working behind the scenes on a set on a show yesterday, and there was stuff happening. And as you know, when you're on a film set, unlike ours, there's hundreds of people, constant movement, lots of things happening. And when I'm there, you have to go into almost a Zen-like focus
100%.
and have that very core sense of self and that quiet stillness to connect with. And to be like, yes, I'm here, my vision is that, but this is a blessing. And, having that intention of bringing that positive energy even into this experience. And so may others feel it, yet you're not even if I'm not voicing it out verbally. So going from that, I feel like it's the perfect segue into talking about something.
Yes.
Congratulations. I am so proud of you, Micah. I remember, I feel like it was a year ago, you were talking about starting your own makeup line. We were having this conversation around this time last year. And everything just came together for you, But you know, it's a beautiful collection that's going to continue to grow. But I would love to talk about the inspiration behind starting something,
Sure.
the name something, and yeah, share with our audience. I know the story about it, behind it, but I would love to hear from you.
So as we've spoken before throughout this, for me it's like it's all about bringing beauty and confidence and just making people feel like they matter. That's kind of why I love makeup. A few years ago, I was living in Toronto and I was assaulted sexually by my landlord and our next door neighbor. He held a position, or he holds a position of power in his job, so it made it very difficult for me to feel like I could do anything about it. It took me a while. I moved away to Spain, and then I ran away from the problem. Partially in hindsight, it was fear, because I was scared of like what he could do. He works in a job that's like basically intelligence, let's say that. So he has access to like phones and stuff like that, and like he could see everything I was doing, or at least I would be afraid of that. So I ran away, because you don't know. Even anybody who's been assaulted in that kind of way, you don't know. It's kind of confusing, and you kind of just want to get away from the situation as fast as you can just to feel safe. And so I left and I came back and I pressed charges, but as many people who have been assaulted know, that doesn't really work. In my situation, I thought that I pressed charges and then everyone would go to jail, and that's my vision, because I never thought that could even happen to me. As many people would feel the same way. I dwelled in like negativity about that for a long time, but then I realized over time that like just with anything else in my life, that you have to find some form of beauty in everything that there is. And for me, it's like once I started realizing that I need to speak up about it, because I was pretty vocal about it, I realized that a lot of people aren't, and they don't know how, and they can't, and they feel very trapped, and they wear the shame of somebody else. And once I put my story out, because I came forward with my story, and then on my social media, and I talked about it very publicly, people would come up to me constantly and talk about their story, and it would be the first time they'd ever shared it. And at first it was kind of rattling to me, because it made me realize how real this problem is. So a year ago, I think I was speaking to you, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I love beauty, I love makeup, and I'm like, how art is the best way to communicate an issue in a way that isn't have to be darkness. It's like bringing light to someone's life, and like women and men love that makeup. You know what I mean? It's like, so why not create something that can be shared and make an impact, and also get a message out. So I created this makeup line with my friend Kara Alric. She shared similar experiences to me. So when we did this, we really wanted to create something that anyone could wear. So it's vegan, it's cruelty-free. We have the color that you're wearing. It's called Say Something. So there's the Say Something lip, and there's a See Something lash. That color is like, it's really, well, tell me, how do you feel when you wear it?
You know, I have a few of the colors, but there's something about this color, it just makes me feel really powerful.
Yeah.
And confident. And especially on days like last time we were filming, I wore this towards the end. I could feel I was starting to get sick, and I'm like, I need a boost. I need a little pick me up. I need energy. And when I wear this, and for me as a brown skinned woman, finding a good shade of red is difficult that would match my skin tone. So what I really like about your colors, the three that I have, waiting for more,
give me some more.
you know. But I do find that I wear this the most. But A, it stays. B, I get a lot of compliments on it, and C, it makes me feel really good. It's sort of like, I feel like I walk a little bit taller.
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to wear it on the show today, because it just, you know, when we're filming, it's certainly like that pop.
Right.
You know, and I love it, not just for spring, but you can wear it anytime.
Yeah.
You know.
And I really like it. The reason why I went with that color is because it makes an impact, you know? It's really bright, it's loud, like you were saying, and it gives people confidence. Like I said, I'm very spiritual, so I kind of like infuse this. I'm like, give the people who wear these the power to feel like they can say something, you know what I mean? Or like be empowered. And
you have two reds, or three.
So there's like, there's three different reds. There's the Say Something, which is more like a cherry red. This is more like your classic red, that's Saturday, and then Thursday is more like a brick red. So someone who wants to wear red, but be a little more subtle. And someone who just wants like that classic, like 1940s red. Yeah, and then there's a different color for there's a color and a lash for every day of the week. So it's a little something something 7 days a week. So yeah, there's some days.
I like how feathery the lashes are.
Yeah.
We still need to try the lashes.
Yeah, we do.
But I like how they don't look like spider legs.
Yeah.
You know, they're not overly dramatic, but there's that feminine wispiness to them.
Yeah.
And they come with the glue. Yes.
Yeah, they come with the glue as well.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that was really important for us too is that I wanted it to be sustainable and cruelty free. And like, as a makeup artist, people love make lashes, but I'm like, I can't ethically. You know, I don't know how those animals are treated. And to anybody who loves it, that's fine. But I want everybody to wear them. So we found this new formula, or this new way of producing lashes, where they actually take plant collagen fibers and they spin them, and it becomes like these like really like feathery type of hairs. So it's not human hair, it's not animal hair, it's actually plant fibers. So it's and it lasts about 20 to 30 times. So they're really nice too.
I was also going to say I love the packaging.
Mm-hmm.
I love it's so chic.
Yeah.
I like the packaging. Tell me, what was the process like? Because everything happened for you really, really fast.
Right. So I mean, it was a lot of like testing, trial and error. Like I wanted something that can be. I wanted it to be just like wearable. That would stay on the lips, because as the makeup artist, like touching up was always a nightmare. So I wanted a matte lipstick that wasn't too dry, and I wanted it to be an all-in-one. So as you can see from like the tip of the applicator.
Yeah.
It's actually like a lip liner as well.
Yeah.
So that's really helpful too. So someone can really have that. It's all in one. The packaging, I just wanted something that would be nice in your purse, something that's nice to hold. But yeah, it happened really quickly, and it was a lot of trial and error. And then I actually settled on a manufacturer right here in Vancouver, so it actually worked really well for that as well. And I'm just really proud of this, because it's like, for me, it's like going back to like the reason it started. Having the lipstick and the lash that goes 100% to the charity, and then 10% of everything, it gives me, because I already wanted, like I told you before, I really wanted to do a makeup line when I was young, when I first started, but having it so it actually means something, and it gives me a driving force to want to continue, because there's so much competition in the world, there's so many people doing makeup, but I wanted to have something that I really love using, and it's just knowing that I can eventually help people at a very specific level, giving them that voice, like even just having this brand, it's like you're seen in a way, you know what I mean? But like raising money that I can actually support people, like eventually I want to have, like, there's so many things that I have dreams. I want to have a place where I can have people come and learn, you know? It's like, but it's like, it gives me that driving force to like keep going with it.
That's beautiful.
And as we spoke about, you have to keep going in order to be a creative in this industry anyway.
I'm so proud of you. Like,
thanks, Sarah.
To see you had the vision, and the fact that you made it all happen so quickly. It's truly admirable, and to witness that journey and to see your products here. You know, you were just recently on CBC, you were using your products on the show Allegiance.
I produced this while working full time. I was working 60 hours a week, and it would just be, I'd go home and I'd be working on it. But
not 16, but 60.
60, yeah.
Yes.
And then on my weekends, it was completely like, I would, once I get something in my head, and it comes from years of being that kind of mindset, I have to do it. And the vision was there, I had to keep going. And there'd be nights I would go home, and I would like wake up in the morning, and I would sleep with lipsticks on to see how they wear. And I have like lashes and lips when I forget. And I'd be like going into the bathroom, and I'd see myself, and I have like this dark, like maroon colored lip on, and I'd be like, oh wow, I forgot. Or answering the door, and someone knocking, and I forget that I had lipstick on, so I'm testing it out. But I was constantly, we have a mutual friend, Sean.
Yes.
And he likes to go, like mountain climbing.
Yes.
And he comes over to my house, and I'm wearing like a lipstick and a lash. I'm like, hey, he's in the mountain here. And it's like diversity of friendships, right?
Yes. You're like, I'm testing my product.
Like you didn't bat an eyelash. Literally.
Yeah, it's really inspiring to see, you know, your journey over the years, like knowing you when we're both in our 20s to like now, and the fact that, you know, having this full circle moment of reconnecting again. And thank you so much for sharing your story, and you know, and with our audience, and you know, being vulnerable to share that, and what you're doing and what you're creating. You're certainly bringing hope and light into the world with your work. What else can we expect from something this year? I know I'm a fan of glosses.
Yes,
You know
we're gonna do
that.
some gloss.
I want some gloss. I like the peachy pinky mauvey glosses.
Yes, we're gonna be doing some glosses. Stay tuned. We have a whole thing coming out with that. We want it to be perfect, of course.
It's progress, you know. It's like progress.
Progress, yes.
And then are you going to be using something on different shows that you go on as well?
Oh, well, this is my thing to anybody who wants to do anything, any opportunity you have.
To promote yourself, do it.
So anytime I have a client or anything, I'm like, oh, you look great on you. Let's take a picture of it. Because you have to, like I said, you have to be your own biggest supporter. And it's like, I truly believe in my products. Like, I mean, as a makeup artist, I've got to try so many different things. So I know it works. So I just took whatever I knew already and I made it better, right?
Exactly, with all the years of doing makeup on A-list celebrities and, you know, not just Hollywood but Canadian as well. Your products have been in the hands of quite a few Emmy nominated actresses. Can you share that with us?
Sure. So a friend of mine named Michelle Morgan, she was the first Black woman to win Daytime Emmy Best Leading Actress. So she messaged me, and this is why I was saying my higher power God, whatever you want to call it, the universe is listening. The day I got my first set of products in, I get a message from Michelle, and she's like, Micah, I have to go do this gift bags for all the new Emmy nominated actresses. Do you know anybody? She's Canadian. She's like, do you know anybody in Canada that has a new makeup line or anything they want to promote?
And you just received
I'm sitting with my boxes, and I'm like, just so happens.
Take a picture. This is what I just launched.
Yeah, so she was great, and and then they had like a luncheon, and they all got, so all the Emmy nominated women all got something in their gift bag, and they were really excited by it. So that was really nice too.
Are we able to share some of those actresses' names?
I
think they're on your social media. They're on your social media. Well, we'll share that information.
And I'm hoping soon too. So like I was talking about Mila and Thomas, who's like, she does makeup, and she's Tony Braxton's makeup artist full time. She's got everything, so I'm excited to see what she does with it too. It's gonna be really fun.
You know, I think when we're on the right path, when we're on our mission, our purpose, everything aligns.
Of course.
You know, of course you'll have obstacles, things will come up, and it's about connecting with that inner stillness within. It's almost like that. You have to have a bit of that warrior spirit inside. At least that's how I like to talk to myself. Because there's been times, like Julian knows, I've been sick. You know, last time it kept getting sicker and sicker, and then I had work to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the whole time I was in Paris for Fashion Week for 2 weeks, and I was to make all this content for all these brands. I was literally sick for 2 weeks. But because I knew I'm committed to doing the work, all the clients had already paid and I had to do all these shoots, you just have to find that space inside of you. Like, I'm not saying that you don't have to do self-care, yet we have to find the spirit inside that is unbreakable.
You have to. And you feel so much, when you actually can accomplish it, obviously within reason, when you don't feel like doing something and you're sick or everything's going against you, it's a test from the universe in some ways too, because when you overcome that, you walk away from that knowing how powerful you truly are, and it just makes everything you've accomplished that much more special to you, because you know what you had to do to get it. And I find that a lot of the time people who just have everything handed to them, it's not that I don't judge them, and that's why privilege to me is a slippery thing, because I'm like, if it's easy, does it really have the same value to you? Do you really get all of the information and all that beautiful knowledge from it?
Versus someone who's had to go through so many obstacles. And I think especially, you know, in our industry, whether it's performance or artists or behind the scenes, you're so on point. When something's given, when something is easy versus when you work for it, I think that inner self-esteem and confidence and also humility, hopefully, is different. Then, you know, and then you value it, and then you want to share it with the world and inspire others with your story, which is my aim to do through the conversations that we're having on the show today. You've shared so many beautiful stories and inspiring words of wisdom that hopefully, you know, people who are not just makeup artists or wanting to be makeup artists, but also entrepreneurs. But is there something else that you would like to say before we let you go today?
I would say I'll leave you with my favorite quote, and it's just, there's beauty in everything, make life beautiful. And that's the truth. Like, there is beauty in absolutely everything. It's sometimes, and it sounds so, as from someone who's been through really, really dark times, like, I feel like I'm very confident in saying that. It's just, you have to find it, you know? It's like, you have to find the beauty, because who we are today is an accumulation of all of our experiences, right? So, love yourself and just keep moving forward. Be proud of who you are.
I love that. Where would you say you get your inspiration from?
Something bigger than myself. And like a lot of the time too, when I find it hard to congratulate myself for things I do, because sometimes I'm like, there's been times where I've done things completely by myself, and I'm like, as far as like human experience, but then I'll be like, wait a minute, I'm like, I don't feel like that. I'm like how'd you do this? I'm like, wow, I had like a whole team, and I'm like, because with me, I look at it as like a spirit team of angels and like ancestors and all that type of thing. I won't get too much into it because it can sound a little crazy to other people, but I'm really spiritual, and I really don't think that we're alone. I feel like that the higher realms are really close with us, and I feel like if you just tap into it, the inner knowledge, it'll come to you. And there's things that I've done that I thought would be impossible for me to do on my own, and then I'll do it on my own, and I'm like, but I don't think I had. I'm like, so I'm like, oh wait, how did I do that? I'm like, how did I find the information? What did I access in order to get this? Because I have no idea how to do this, but somehow I did, you know? And like, I didn't know how to make a makeup line. I didn't know how to do any of it. Like, I just like, I want to do this, and then all of a sudden things just kept falling into place. And it's just about asking the universe, asking God, asking your ancestors, whatever it is you believe in, anything bigger than yourself, and that's where being humble comes in, because anything that I could do for myself, I feel like spirit could do 10 times better than I could ever imagine. And just releasing to that.
Asking for help. You know, whether through prayer or meditation, but also asking for help from people.
Yeah. You'll be guided to the right people, and those people will come into your life. The more that you're like aware that you don't have to be the most powerful thing in the world, the people will fall into your life, and your eyes will be open to it, and you'll see the person that's there to help you. Because when we're looking at things in a negative light, all we can see is negativity. But if we're looking and we're assuming that the positivity is out there, you're going to not only be vibrating at that light level, but people are going to see you, and they're going to be drawn to you, and they're going to come to you, and they're going to want to help you. They want to be a part of what you're doing. But when you're negative, it's like people are going to want to help you because they want to bring you out of that. But if you're draining their energy, they're going to move on to something else. And that's just that nature of humanity, right?
And we have to train the brain, because I think through media, news, everything that we get, you know, especially the last couple of years, we have to really protect, you know, the mind from what you're consuming, because the diet isn't just what we're eating, it's what we're looking at, our social media, 100%. The news, like what is in your feed, what message am I constantly receiving? I mean, I get it, like in our world, like, you know, especially right now, what's going on in the world, it's tough, yet at the same time, I need to work at a certain frequency.
You do, it's so important.
And then that also means that I need to turn off and mute or unsubscribe from certain channels, because in order for me to bring light into the world, to bring that positive energy and to operate at the best.
This is what I was thinking about the other day. I was thinking about this exact thing. There's only what you can bring to the world is what you can bring to the world. So it's important to know what's happening in the world, because there's a lot of really terrible things happening.
We can't close our eyes to it.
We can't close our eyes to it. What you can do is be informed, but don't dwell in it, because what I can do is I can't go to these places across the world and fix those situations.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that someone can't, but what I can do is be light in every person's life that I meet, because you never know, somebody that needed that light could be that person that can go somewhere and change the entire world. So it doesn't have to be all to you, but you just need to be radiating positivity and understanding and acceptance of every person that you come into contact with, because as individuals, we are all the same. And once you step out of like these little boxes and these frameworks of what we are so programmed to be divided amongst each other with, and just realize that me and you, we're the same person. We're all connected. Me hurting you is you hurting me. It's like, or I'm me hurting myself. So it's like you always just want to try to have the understanding of everybody and know that you have limits to what you can feel and do. Because it's important to know what other people are going through, but if you try to radiate, or if you try to like sit in their fear and hurt all the time, you can't do anything for the world.
Completely. And as you know, through our personal conversations, I went through some of that a couple of months ago, and I knew at a certain point, you know, for me as a performance artist, as an actor, TV host and whatnot, I need to, you know, accept and understand this is the reality in the world, and then trust the divine plan, and also send love and healing energy to the people who are suffering in the world, and you know, trust that I will be put in right places, situations, and right rooms. But that's really well said. And the thing is, we do have, you know, a certain amount of time that is here, and we all have like a purpose. And it's like, how do we want to best live our lives so we're a light in the world?
And I think that you are, sorry to interrupt you, but
no.
I think that with me saying that, it's like, I think I got a lot of that from you, and like how you interact with the world, because there's a lot of pain happening, and when that, and of course it's going to affect you, and it affects everybody, and everyone has different things happening in the world that are affecting them. But I watched as you had that, and then quickly shifted and made sure that you were light, and how to be of service to other people, and how to be light. And I watched that, and I'm like, that's really inspiring. So I want to thank you for being that example, because it inspired me to focus on that and see it. Because it's one thing to like know about it, but to live it is a whole other thing, right? So.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. And you know, I think as a Pakistani Muslim woman who came to Canada at 17, I do feel, you know, it's through that. Instead of aiming to have when I was younger, I wanted to have like this big impact. But I think it's the little impact happens through like little conversations, interactions, the little dinners I have, or you know, cooking for someone, and it's through those little, and focusing on the love between people and friends, and it's just focusing on the love.
And if we look at anything else like we were saying about when you're doing like a pitch, we were saying like we're working 24 hours a day on that, so those little things, or those 24-hour moments, all of a sudden at the end, all of a sudden maybe there'll be this one big moment that you all of a sudden have this huge impact, and you've been preparing for it, right? So it's living those day-to-day things that are the most important.
Completely. Something I like to ask everyone, because you know I'm very passionate about
what is this?
what do you do for self-care? Because you know, of course, when you're working on a show, like whether it's a show like Allegiance, we know film industry days are really long, but especially when you're a hair or makeup artist, it's even longer, because people don't recognize or realize that makeup team is one of the first to arrive and the last to leave. So how do you replenish yourself?
Ooh, that's the challenge. When you're on a show full time, it can be the challenge, but it's just about, once again, that human connectivity. Your team is your family at that point. So it's really just trying to do little nice things for those people, and then it comes back to you, right? But exercise, trying to eat healthy. I mean, this last show I did, I'm like, I promised myself I was gonna eat healthy on, and then didn't. But like, eating healthy it just changes the way your mind works, right? And then cold plunging on weekends, praying. Like sometimes I talk to like my spirit team all day long. Like I'll be like dancing in my living room with my cat, and then talking.
And your hummingbirds.
And my hummingbirds. And now I have a summer fighting fish too. But like it's like just like connecting to the world. Like that's the real. It's connecting to your child spirit. Like sometimes I feel like I was on the phone with somebody yesterday, and I was just thinking, I'm like, I feel like a teenager. And sometimes I'm like, and I like to look at the world through a child's or through like a teenager's eyes, because that's the only time that you can feel. And at first it was like a purposeful practice, but now I actually just do it naturally, and it's the only time you can really see the eyes without these programs that we put into our minds through media, through our experiences, through our perceived experiences too. And it's like just having that like fresh, in everything you do, that fresh gaze, it really helps you to like just have a good mentality about things. So I think that would be my daily practices.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming here today.
Thanks for having me.
For sharing your story, for talking to me. I know these are conversations we have a lot when we see each other, but I really wanted to bring you on and, you know, talk about your line, but also talk about your journey and your journey over the years. One last thing before we do let you go, is there something that you would like to say to your younger self today?
To my younger self, you made it. Good job.
Yes,
No,
yes, honey. Yes.
My younger self, I never, like, I practice life very differently than I did when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that you made it. Good job. I mean, your 20s and 30s could be a bit of a challenge, you know. But no, it's like everything that I've done in my life, I'm very proud of, just because it's made me the person I am today. I love where I'm going. So, yeah.
I love that, and I'm proud of you. Really proud of you. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Micah. For everyone watching us, everyone tuning in, we appreciate you. If you found this episode inspiring, if you would like to get in touch, I would appreciate some feedback from you. Thank you for watching On Location with Zara, produced with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. And we're here today in Railtown at Christine's Atelier.